Hey, this is Omar Miranda with What's Your Problem? I am filming a second video this week because I missed one last week, and I just filmed one, and I'm filming this one because something happened on September the 27th, 2 days ago. Actually, 3 days ago. Today is the 30th. 3 days ago, that I think we really need to, as Christians, need to be aware of. A guy named Hugh Hefner passed away. And Hugh Hefner was born on March the 9th, 1926, and died on the 27th of September of 2017. And Hugh Hefner, if nobody knows, if you don't know who Hugh Hefner was, he was somebody who founded a Playboy magazine, which is a pornographic magazine. And he was very instrumental in changing people's attitudes about sex and sexuality, and really felt like he really kind of just thumbed his nose at God and basically said, you know, the only good way to live a life that's happy and full of joy is to just kind of have sex whenever you want to and not get married and just kind of do what feels right. And although he didn't start the sexual revolution and really didn't start pornography or pornographic magazines, he really was able to kind of take it to the next level and kind of make it more normal and acceptable. What we have today is the fruits of all of his life and all of his work. You might say that he was, this is his legacy, if I can use that word very loosely. Things like child sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, child sex trafficking, prostitution, drug abuse, pornography addiction, sex addiction. And I personally know a little bit about those for two reasons. Number one, because I am a counselor. I've been doing counseling for about 20 years, and I actually have a certificate in the diagnosis and treatment of sex and pornography addiction. So I see this issue every single day, lived out time and time again with different people. I am also a recovering sex and pornography addict. I have dealt with this issue since 6th grade, and a couple of years after I got married, I finally, through God's power and grace, was able to kind of come out of all of that addiction. But it is something that has left all sorts of consequences on my life and the lives of my wife and my children as well. And so I want to talk to you today about what God has to say about the Bible and what God has to say in the Bible about sex and sexuality and marriage. And of course, you know, what Hugh Hefner had to say about it was that sex is good, and we should be able to have sex whenever we want to, with whomever we want to, and not feel bad about it, not feel guilty about it. If it feels right, do it. And that's kind of the culture and the mindset of today. In fact, back then, he kind of viewed women as objects, or what we call objectifying the female body. In fact, he didn't even view them as human beings. He viewed them as animals. In fact, he dressed them up as bunny rabbits. He called them bunnies, Playboy bunnies. And of course they weren't. They were human beings with souls and dreams and likes and dislikes and things that they wanted to do, and goals. And these are people who Jesus died for. And so I want to share with you the bottom line, and this is the bottom line, that God, not Hugh Hefner, created sex. And sex is really only great if it's done God's way. Now, to borrow a line from a very famous individual, Al Gore, this is a truth that is people don't like to hear. People don't like to hear this truth. But the fact is that when God says don't do something, what he's really saying is don't hurt yourself. And so I want to share with you what he says about sex and sexuality in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, he basically says this. He says, honor marriage and guard the sacredness of sexual intimacy between wife and husband. God draws a firm line against casual and illicit sex, which is a total opposite of what Hugh Hefner believed that sex should be. In fact, I'm standing here in front of this fireplace, and as you see this fireplace, we've got wood in this fireplace. And if I was cold, I could take my lighter and I could light a fire in my fireplace, and I could heat my living room up. I could heat my house up. I could maybe cook some food. It would give me a nice warm glow. I would feel really nice about it. But let's say I took this same wood and I was cold and I decided to light my fire in the middle of my living room. What do you think would happen? Exactly. I would burn my entire house down. Now, it would be warm for a little bit, but the fire would swing out of control and burn not just my living room, but my whole house down, and probably my property, and maybe the neighbor's house over here, and the neighbor's house over here. What's the point I'm trying to make? I'm not talking about fires. I'm not talking about fireplaces. I'm talking about sex and sexuality. When God created sex, when he created sexuality, he meant it for it to be between one man and one woman for life. Just them, nobody else. So when people choose to have sex before they get married, when people choose to have sex with somebody else other than the person they were married to after they get married, all they're doing is, it may feel good for a little bit, but just like that fire built in the living room, will swing out of control and will destroy everything and everybody it comes in contact with. Don't believe me? I promise you this. I've never met a person who decided to have sex outside of what God wants for it to be, who has told me that they've really enjoyed the consequences. Time and time and time again. Jesus, what he says in the Bible is absolutely 100% true. If you choose to live your life outside of what God wants you to do, there will be negative consequences. So when God says don't, what he's really saying is don't hurt yourself. Now, this is the truth people don't want to hear, but I promise you again, God, not Hugh Hefner, created sex, and it's only great if it's done God's way. This is the real sex truth. Listen, this is Omar Miranda with What's Your Problem? If you like my video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you like it, tell me why. If you don't like it, tell me why. Leave me a note. Let me know if there's something you want me to talk about or send you an email about. If you want to send me an email, shoot me an email. If you want to take a look at my website, you're welcome to do that as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It will be either here, there, or there. This is Omar Miranda with What's Your Problem? See you next week. Bye-bye.